validated information into the downstream business application. In this example, we see invoices being processed, but with UiPath's document understanding product, users can create solutions to process an array of documents, like receipts, purchase orders, credit memos, tax forms, and more. I hope you've enjoyed this demonstration of UiPath's document understanding capabilities.
Cool. So a couple of good things there. So, an account, a very basic accounts payable workflow, that was just simply grab invoice from email attachment, digitize, extract the data, get a human to double check that nothing was misinterpreted, and then the robot will continue to put that into our downstream systems. So that being the core of a workflow, there's then a number of things we can do with that. So for example, let's say we are extracting an ABN from an invoice or some other document, but before we present that ABN to a human, we can get a robot to go and do an ABN lookup just to validate that it is indeed a valid ABN, and then present the extracted details to the human, as well as the results of that ABN check, and any other checks that we may want to run as well. And one I like to use for invoices is, how often are we sitting there as AP officers looking at whether or not all of the line items are matching, and whether they even have been appropriately summed to the grand total of the invoice. I think that level of due diligence is not something we're doing on every single invoice, but with a robot processing in the invoice is absolutely something we could add that into the rule set, right? Robot process the invoice, extract the data, do an ABN check, make sure all the line items equal the grand total, etc. And really any number of rules-based checks that we can think of, we can program those into the robots to have a look at as well. And not really going into a deep dive on the document processing capability itself, but we spoke about machine learning behind the scenes there. We're not talking about needing data scientists or Python developers to build these things. We have out of the box plug and play invoice, receipt, passport, ID, a range of models available off the shelf that you can just plug and play with your automated workflows. And the additional benefit there is the more we use those models, in particular in our own customer context, where our invoices may look different, or our IDs that we're dealing with may look different, receipts look different, whatever it is, the more the humans interact with that validation step. Anytime a human either overwrites a value, fixes something, corrects a typo, whatever it might be, that information is fed back into UiPath to retrain the model to become more accurate over time and more tailored towards our specific business documents that we're seeing, i.e. the nature of the suppliers that are sending those invoices to us. So some very cool things we can do there. And again, back to my previous point, where not everything needs to be 100% straight through processing. So even though we haven't eliminated 100% of the human involvement in that workflow, what we've done is we've removed the downstream and the upstream, basically the data entry, the mundane parts of this workflow. We've farmed those out to a robot, and now the human's left to just do review what the robot presents, make a confirmation decision and/or any value add by making changes, then hit submit, and then it goes back to the robot to do the boring data entry work. So we've eliminated the mundane steps, and we're focusing on, let's just get the human to do the thinking and the brain power bit and add some value to that process. So that's an invoice example. So now I'll talk about a little bit about order to cash as well. So again, similar structure to the other slide. So some companies and some systems that they've worked with, 70% saved on time, 5 to 6 hours a day for that customer, automating complaints and inquiries, improved efficiency and governance, reduced compliance risks. So again, it's not just about reducing hours, it's about what are the business objectives, what are the business key metrics and KPIs, and how can we also support those. And then the last one, of course, accuracy, and again, automation rate leading to effort reduction. So one more quick demo here.
Hi, my name is Dhruv Patel, and I am a sales engineer at UiPath. Today I'll be showing you how we automate sales order processing with the UiPath platform. Customer service and sales efficiency are paramount to any business striving for growth. Customer order processing is a vital part to improve customer and employee experience. Manual sales order processing can create bottlenecks that result in stagnated growth and poor customer satisfaction. From general human error to delayed communication, data entry mistakes, and backtracking to fix those mistakes, traditional sales order processes will not suffice in the digital transformation age. Automated order processing eliminates tedious manual work and helps process orders faster. With inefficiencies removed from the order management process, orders are fulfilled faster and more accurately. Benefits to automating this process include improved customer experience with quick and accurate order confirmation, reduced manual effort, minimizing risk from manual entries, and the ability to keep pace with transaction volumes. In the following automation, we will see how the UiPath robot intakes a customer purchase order, extracts data from that purchase order using UiPath document understanding, has a human go in and validate the data, and then enters that data into the ERP system, creating a new sales order. Finally, it sends a confirmation back to the customer. In Outlook, we can see that we have received a new purchase order from one of our customers. We need to get this processed. So for demo purposes, we'll kick off the automation from Studio and process the order. The automation begins. The automation looks through the emails, it finds the purchase order document, and begins digitizing with the UiPath OCR engine. Once digitized, it then classifies the document as a purchase order and brings in the correct machine learning model to extract the data. The robot then creates a validation task in Action Center for a human user to go in and validate the extraction results. We can see that the robot also sent a notification to my email indicating that, hey, there's a task waiting for you in Action Center. We can click the URL in the email, but let's go directly to Action Center. We can see that the robot has created a new task in Action Center where we can go in and validate or change the extracted data. If we were on the go, the Orchestrator mobile app would give us a notification that there's a new task in Action Center awaiting our action, and we can go directly into the app to see a little bit more detail. For this specific action, we need to go onto the browser, so let's jump back into Action Center to validate the document. Using the drag and drop and click functionality, we can adjust what the extraction results are and even revert them back. All the extracted results look good, so let's hit save and continue and complete this task. We can go back and resume the automation. The robot reads in the data and any corrections we made. And now it begins to open up SAP and begins creating the sales order from the purchase order data that it read in. The automation looks up the correct customer in SAP, enters the information in, and then begins filling out things like the customer reference date, and finally the line items it read in from the purchase order. The robot then saves the sales order, collects a confirmation at the bottom of SAP, and then sends an email out to the customer to confirm that their order was received and entered into the system.
Great. So another document processing example there. Not too much to repeat. Another really good example that I like to use, and it's in the theme of not everything needs to be effort reduction to get value as well. So I've been talking with a customer about even doing a receipts auditing process for expense management. So using Concur, a lot of users are submitting their expense claims, uploading the supporting receipts. They have an audit requirement. I believe it's like a spot audit, and I think they were targeting to every financial year audit 5% of the receipts and the expense claims that came through to make sure that processes are being followed, there's no fraudulent behaviour, etc. What we can do with UiPath is rather than have a person trawl through however many expense claims that is, have a robot simply go through expense claims either as they're submitted or after the fact in an audit capacity, but to go through, look at what was entered by the person submitting the claim, look at the receipt, extract all the data from the receipt, and go through and make sure the total of the receipt that was attached actually matches the total that was claimed, or that it was in fact a receipt that was attached. Somebody hasn't just uploaded a picture of a cat to satisfy the mandatory upload in Concur or something like that. And the other thing we can then do is if we want to look for policy compliance as well within our expense claiming process, in the same way that we saw a table get extracted, the itemized component of that receipt, we can look at are there any keywords, perhaps it could be a simple rule like that are in breach of the policy. So we're looking for words like wine, and if the line item of wine is more than $100, then we may want to flag that for a human to come and have a look at those transactions, and maybe have a talk to that person about what their wine limit should probably be. So more examples of document processing across finance. But the next couple of slides, so we have this concept we call heat maps. The point here is really to say all those examples are well and good, Michael, but I work in a different part of finance, or I don't really care about accounts payable. I live in the ledgers. I'm doing something else. So the heat maps sort of break down across finance and accounting. What are the different sort of what are the pillars across finance that we're working with, and then within each of those there's a bunch of functions that exist. So we've got a series of slides that say the UiPath's done an assessment to say from lowest to highest automation potential, and those black dots there represent whether something can be completely handled as a unattended automation that doesn't necessarily require humans to be there, versus something that might actually be useful to run on a user's machine in real time, working with the human either as a background task or as a or in any way that it's designed, really. So and we have these for each of the domains: source to pay, order to cash, etc. So I'm not going to go through these now. You'll get copies of these in the slides we send out after the session. But the point here is to really navigate to the area of finance that is of interest to you, and have a look at what the UiPath assessment is on the areas that we think can be automated, and the automation potential. Some additional information, and to build on the back of that, I'll go from the bottom up. If you see anything on those heat maps, if you want to reach out to UiPath and you've got any sort of further questions, or you would like to talk about specific use case areas, customer success stories, even if it's as simple as can it or can't it do this idea that I have, feel free to reach out to us. So that's my email address there, Michael Taddy, or you can email my colleague directly, Tony Nudd. In addition to reaching out, there's a number of things you can do. So if you want to just learn more in general, link here to the UiPath website, and if you search finance or accounting, it can take you to a couple of relevant pages where there's some more information. If anybody on the call wants to learn UiPath themselves, whether that's looking at it from a development perspective, taking the business analyst and solution architecture courses on how to think with an automation mindset. Whether you want to go to an infrastructure level, there's a wide range of training courses available there to take, all free. If you want to, if there's anyone super technical on the call, you can jump straight into the documentation at the link there. And of course, there's 2 trials available. So you can register for a trial under your personal account. And in doing that, you'll get access to what we call the community free tier of UiPath, which is access to our software at no cost, where you can start to build and play with your own automations. The licensing restrictions are only that the community tier is not used, obviously, for any enterprise, business, commercial use, etc. It's just to be used by the individual in their own capacity only. Or if you are looking at an enterprise trial, either again reach out to us and we can assist you with what that process looks like, or you can register through your like a business email address or something like that, and request a proper enterprise trial, which can be used by businesses, and they're valid for 60 days. And in the same way, it gives you free use of the platform. If you want to, you can deploy and have a play with it on premise, or you can just simply open up and start using our product and having a look around in the as a SaaS cloud offering as well. So we offer that free for 60 days as well. But I do highly recommend reaching out to someone at UiPath. So if you do a trial, you can make the most of that as well. That's all in terms of death by PowerPoint. So I'm happy to take any and all questions. I think we had scheduled this to run for 45 minutes. So I'm happy to be around for the next sort of 15, 20 minutes, or if there's that many questions. But feel free to fire away into the chat. Anything, if it was more about, I can go back and talk more about some of those slides, or if you want me to expand on any of the use cases or the demos that we're given there, I'm happy to sort of unpack things further. Or if it's totally unrelated to anything on the slides we just saw, but something else that's on your mind related to UiPath, RPA, automation in general, now's the chance. No worries. And if there's no questions, I mean, we can wrap up. We can wrap up early, but I'll just give maybe 1 minute just in case someone's typing. Now's your chance, one-on-one with a technical consultant. Speak now or forever hold your peace. How may day for implementation? I'm not sure what that means, sorry. Do you mean sort of how long would it take for like an initial implementation, getting that up and running? Like for the first time? Yeah. So I think if you're a brand new customer, and this also depends on where you're deploying. I mean, if you're deploying on-premise, I always say, allow maybe a couple of weeks or a couple of months to get all the infrastructure stuff set up and all the IT backend. But if you're deploying and consuming as a cloud SaaS service, then we offer out of the box. Everything will be live and connected, sort of ready to be run. All you need to do is design the robot to work in your particular process flow. So there's a bit of design and development effort needs to go on. So we offer template. So we have a tool called Studio, which is the developer tool. It's not like a hard coding tool. It's like a low code drag and drop type environment, and we've got different tiers of that. So for business users that are non-developers, and we have one for developers as well. I'd say if it's the first time you're doing something like this and you were doing it by yourself, I would say at least a couple of weeks to get to something that's like a minimum viable product, probably months to get to something that would be of higher quality. But we've got either directly through UiPath, we have professional services, as well as quite an extensive partner ecosystem. And if you were to get anyone that has done this before, to come in, look at your business process and your requirements and build something that's connecting with your systems. For a simple invoice processing use case, it could be done in, could be built in under a week, but let's budget maybe a couple of weeks to build it, test it, and make sure everyone was happy with it before deploying it. And the benefit with the invoice example specifically is that we already have pre-trained invoice models, so you don't have to worry about building an ML model or retraining it. You can simply just run it, and it will be able to successfully extract data from invoices on day one. So, short answer: if you go through partner network and outsource the development for the initial build, could be as quick as weeks. And depending on your internal processes and how complicated your process is, it could easily be under a week, I would think. To do the development, sorry, probably not under a week to do all the testing and other activities required as well. The slides will be sent around. So when I do send the slides, they won't have the videos embedded. Obviously, that will be a bit too large to send, but I'll take out the videos and basically send the rest of the slides as a skeleton. So all of those heat maps and analyst slides and anything else in there, you'll get a copy of that after the call. If not this afternoon, then tomorrow. So for invoices, you don't need any samples. So because the invoice machine learning model is pre-trained, you can run it straight away. You don't need to give it a sample size of documents. You don't need to retrain it or anything like that. It will work from day one. And the more you run it in your environment, you can then start to retrain it over time to be sort of more customized, I guess, to your specific invoices. But there's also no need to do that. We have customers that run the out-of-the-box model and it works fine for them, and they've never had to retrain it. So the shorter answer is you don't need any templates at all. You can use the model out of the box. No worries. Anything else? Any other questions? If not, no worries. Okay, well, if not, we might leave it there. I mean, my email address, you'll have that when the deck gets turned around. So don't hesitate to reach out if you go to bed tonight or you wake up at 2 a.m. and you think you should ask that question. Feel free to reach out. And otherwise, I hope it was a good session. I hope you got something out of it. And appreciate your time and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks all.